Ayo, what's good, ladies and gents? Shay's coming at you late at night for another Ever Crisis video. Today's video is going to be on the most recent dungeon ranking that just came out, which is, of course, the Abandoned Factory, and the video is for Very Hard mode. Now, I'll be the first to admit that my title is very much clickbait, sorry about that. I do have, as you can see, rank 7, but there are still 5 days left of the event or so. So I'm probably going to get passed in the rankings more than likely unless I improve my run, which I definitely can do. But either way, my run is once again far from perfect, but it's good enough to get top 10 or at least top 100, should I say. So hopefully it'll be good enough for you too. If you're interested in hard mode, please pause this so that you can take a look at the bosses and trances. As for very hard, the characters that I recommend are Tifa, Sephiroth, Aerith, Yuffie, and then Matt. Matt I recommend only if you sort of need a defensive unit, and that is with his centipede will come in handy for the physical defense and the AoE heal if you manage to pick that up. Other than that, Sephiroth's Dark Heavens is great as always because it's a wind potency dungeon. Yuffie's Arctic Star is very nice because physical attack works quite well in this dungeon, especially if you have a physical defense down, like Aerith's Floral Wand, which can also lower wind resistance, so that is fantastic for this. Tifa's Motor Drive is very nice as well because it is a fast casting wind damaging ability. And then of course, can't forget Yuffie's Tray, which is the best wind weapon pretty much available right now. It does the highest percentage of wind damage. So of course there are tons of weapons that you can use, but these are the ones I recommend. As for what to bring, obviously you want to bring your wind weapons and your wind materia if you need. Then you definitely want to bring a circle sigil because most of the enemies are circle stream phases. And you might need to bring a triangle, that depends. The only one that needs it is the green dragon, and if you kill him before your stream phase, you don't even need to bring triangle. Otherwise, you probably do. Same thing with healing Esna for poison and fatigue. Those are for the green dragon and Rufus. So if you need to bring them, bring them. If you don't, don't. The bosses are Rufus, as I mentioned, and the green dragon. Zu, Kabuda, and then Rude is the last normal boss. And the big boss this time is the Primal Behemoth. With the mini boss, I guess you can call it, being the Airbuster prototype. These are the item usage scores if you need them. Now, let's take a look at the team that I'm using. I'm going for a bullying team, an overpowering team to overpower the enemies. 251,000 sort of power, and I'm using Tifa with her Motor Drive because it is a very fast casting physical wind ability. The rest of her stuff is pretty much just stat sticks, with the circle sigil break of course, and her sub equipment gives her the following stats and R abilities that you can take a look at right now. So yeah, I went for physical attack and physical ability potency. Next up, I brought Aerith as a physical DPS, not a healer. There you can see her physical stats pretty high because I'm using her Floral Wand, which is my MVP. It does physical damage, it lowers physical defense, and it lowers wind resistance. I also brought Bahamut, which I didn't even end up using, so you can argue whether that's a good thing because I managed to get top 10 / top 100 without even using one character's limit break or summons. Or you could argue it's a bad thing because I could still do better. So Aerith has a bunch of different stuff, mostly physical attack, and a few other things. Buff debuff extension is pretty nice as well. And then finally, my biggest DPS of all is, as always, Sephiroth. With almost 4k physical attack. His HP doesn't matter because I'm going full DPS. I brought Dark Heavens and Stat Sticks, and his sub equipment is for wind potency. So he's got a few bits and pieces, he's got that level 8 wind potency, which is the sweet spot, which is amazing. And I don't know if you noticed, but on my Aerith, I don't even have an AoE heal. I don't have any cures on any of my characters because I'm just going to bully the bosses and use items to restore HP. Take a quick look at the map as well. You're going to be starting in the bottom right over here. And then the first enemy to your right is Rufus. And hopefully you can see those Trance Abilities, they're not too small. Then in the top right is the Lagging Dragon. And somewhere between the two of them is a random battle. It's 3 flying enemies. And actually over here under a crate is a few little synth catalysts. I think it's 3 or 4 stars, nothing major. On the bottom left is the Zoo Kabuda. And around the middle is Rude. And then of course on the top, just before that, there is a random battle as well. Somewhere around here, and on the top is the mini boss, and on the bottom is the big boss. So hopefully you can use that to plan your own route. This is my run. This run is, as I mentioned, not perfect. I did do a few mistakes. I went with Rude first, and when you go for him first, it's pretty straightforward. I just lowered his physical defense and wind resistance and pounded him with my powerful wind abilities. I couldn't kill him before the shockwave, so I had to defend that, wait for his little physical attack buff thingy afterwards, and then finish him off with wind. Now, it's interesting to note that if you take on Rude 3rd or 4th, his mechanics will be a bit different. He will start off with the Aegis bar, like limit bar, trance bar, whatever you want to call it. And you'll have to deplete that with wind damage, and that'll stun him, and then you can try and DPS him before he gets off a very powerful shockwave. Taking him on as the first boss, he just does shockwave instantly, and pretty easy. 68k for me. And for me, I couldn't finish the dungeon with all of these score boosts, so I basically decided to take all except one, and that would be the first one, where I take physical attack and magic attack to help me with the rest of the bosses. So after Rude, I go on to Rufus. Grab the items. Obviously, we should know by now, take out Dark Star first, as fast as possible. And then you can get on to Reno. Take out Dark Star and lower Reno's physical defense. Defend his move. And then blast him with wind. I ignored his fatigue here. Luckily it went on Tifa and not Sephiroth, so that was good for me. Now, if you take on Reno 3rd or 4th, Rufus, 3rd or 4th, he's also quite strong. His Dark Star has more HP, and if he gets off his Link attack, it is very powerful, just so you know. Make sure you have enough ATB for his quick reload, of course, and then it should be easy enough to finish him during the interrupt phase. So as I mentioned, I took physical attack, magic attack first, and now for the rest of the bosses, I'm going to take score boost. I went into the random battle here, used a few Ruiners and stuff to try and charge my Aerith's Bahamut summon, but as we will see later on in the video, that doesn't exactly go to plan, but it's fine. So the green dragon is a little more tricky for me, or at least in my other runs that I did, I had to do something specific to beat him. I didn't have to do it in this run, but I will mention it anyways. So as always, lowering his physical defense with Aerith and then smashing him with wind as fast as possible. I'm not sure if it's just a me thing, but there's always massive lag after this poison streak. But yeah, and then soon after this poison streak, he does Dragon Stomp. So I didn't have to do it in this video, as I said, but in previous runs, I had to stagger my limit breaks, so use them one by one to cancel his Dragon Stomp so that I could finish him off. So you can see there's the Dragon Stomp, and before it gets off, I limit break so that I can finish him off. And you may need to do the same. Very much depends on when and where you're taking him on and what your setup is. There's no one size fits all, of course, with the ranking events. So I cancelled his Dragon Stomp and finished him, and I got 66k. Not the greatest. I didn't bring healing Essener, so my team took quite a bit of hurt there, but it's fine. I was planning on using a tent anyways, so that's fine. So here I pop the tent, and then I take on the Zoo Buddha. This guy is actually really easy to defeat if you have strong wind weapons at any stage, so even if he's the 4th boss you take on, it should be quite easy if you have wind weapons. At risk of sounding like a broken record, I do the same thing. I lower his physical defense and his wind resistance and quickly blast him with my wind command abilities. Easy peasy. I got 69k. I did get 70k on one run, but whatever. Let's go boost. And then I go up here to fight the random battle because I needed to try and charge Aerith's Bahamut, or at least I thought I did. So I do some switching to defense, between defense and attack shenanigans here, to drag the battle out and get as much charge as possible. Turns out I didn't really need it, but yeah, it's worth it doing this battle regardless, because you need to get the chest that is past here. Even if you don't use the mega elixir that's inside, every chest you open gives you points, of course, so you want to grab that chest. And you get items from the mobs too, so that's more points. Now the final battle is a little tricky. It really depends on how strong your team is and what your setup is. For me, I used a stimulant for Sephiroth to get his limit break up. I used a couple of ethers to make sure I have a bunch of ATB, and then I used arrow cocktails. The guard jellies can be very useful here if you can't just straight up bully the boss down like I do. So just keep that in mind. As I mentioned, it's pretty tricky. What I did was, once again, same thing, lower his defense and switch as fast as possible between characters, hitting him with wind, bursting him before he gets his body slam off. If you can't burst him before the body slam, be prepared to take a ton of damage from the body slam. And shortly after the body slam, he uses stamina charge, which gives him full HP again. And then eventually he'll do another body slam. So he's quite squishy, but he deals a lot of damage. So hopefully that'll help you take him on in your own run. I just bursted him before the body slam. Didn't even need Bahamut. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, I could have brought Shiva and used Shiva on Rufus, something like that, to get even more score. I can definitely improve this run, but for now, it's more than good enough. I'm in top 10, and I should stay in top 100. If not, I could just improve it. So even though I hope my run helped you, if you are not as strong or you're a newer player, it might not have been that useful because I just bullied the bosses down. But hopefully, you know, the map and showing the bosses and the trances and the map and all of that can help you out. And yeah, do your best run possible. So you can see I got rank 7. And that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.